accessibility pioneers on the promise of AI, a life-changing technology. Speaker Saqib Shaikh, project leader for Seeing AI with Microsoft. Moderator Mike Shebanek, consultant.
Welcome to SciTech Global. It is year 6, and we are so happy to be here again. My name is Mike Shebanek, and I'm here with Saqib Shaikh from Microsoft. And it seems like we were just here a minute ago. Saqib, it's been a year. We got so many things to cover. But before we jump in, maybe just take a moment for those people who don't know you to give a little bit of background on who you are and some of the things you've been working on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you, Mike. It's really good to be talking again and to be here at SciTech Global. So I work at Microsoft. I lead the Seeing AI team here, where we're looking at how emerging technologies, of course, like artificial intelligence, can help the blind community. And the Seeing AI app is something I've this whole project started 10 years ago, which is crazy, but so much has happened in the decade, but so much has happened in just the past year as well.
Yeah, and I can't wait to jump into all of those things. It is actually, I mean, even as we were thinking about preparing for this, so hard to kind of sort through, like, what do we talk about? There's so many things to cover. But I hope through this conversation, people in our audience will be able to get a sense for some of the big changes that are happening, some of the kind of major announcements, maybe some of the sneaky things that have happened that people don't really realize are going to be big game changers over time. And so I think the way I would think about this last year, maybe you would too, is things have sort of changed from in the future it will be like to today I'm doing X, like today I'm doing something with this. And so I wanted to ask you, like, even your daily life over the last year, like, how are you using AI or some of these new technologies that have come out? I think as I look back to last year in our session, we were talking about, is this the moment? And we were talking about, people will be thinking about AI more and more, but I think it's really become much more real. And I'm wondering if you have the same feeling after, the last year.
Yeah, like every year, and the speed that things are changing is getting ever faster, but every year AI can do even more. I remember, like a couple of years ago, oh, we can, get really rich descriptions of images. Oh, wow, now we're doing videos. And now we're like actually doing real-time understanding of the world around you and helping you do things in the real world. And I think the key thing there is it's going from these theoretical things to very practical things that people are using in their everyday lives. It's becoming much more mainstream. And that's the physical world. So I sort of split this then into the digital world, where I find myself just in my daily life using AI to do so many tasks which everyone would find useful, but I, as someone who's blind, probably use it in different ways. So been having a lot of fun with that recently.
Now you just moved to a new home, I think, as you were telling me, and you were
That's
using Copilot for things that I was like, wow, that's brilliant. Talk a little bit about like what your experiences moving into a new home and having Copilot versus maybe a year or two ago, if you had done the same thing, not having Copilot.
well,
And describe what Copilot is for people who don't know.
yeah, Copilot is Microsoft's personal assistant, which, sorry, it's equivalent to many of these AI chat interfaces where you can talk to it, you can type to it, and it learns about you and can give you information from across the web. And yeah, it's been really useful as I've been going through this house move for so many reasons. But if I had to pick two, it would be shopping and tactile instructions.
So tactile instructions, how is that helping you?
Well, the great thing is that Copilot knows about things on the internet, like, for this particular brand, what is the instruction manual? Like, how am I going to set this device up? How am I going to unscrew this? Or, this bit of plumbing over there, what tool do I need? But then I can say, actually, you know what? Let's do with this with non-visual instructions. And that's true for these household tasks, but also just this weekend, I was trying to teach the kid how to tie different knots for scouting. And I could just say, okay, give me a tactile, a non-visual version of instructions on how to tie a knot, and so forth. And then I also mentioned shopping, because again, things which sighted people might just glance at, I can now say to Copilot or whichever AI, hey, I want to buy this thing. What are the popular brands? What are the popular options? And okay, now we're looking at these two models. Would you compare these things and, put them in a paragraph instead of a table or whatever it be? It's like the information comes to me in the format that I can consume most easily. And that's helpful for everyone. But I think as someone who's blind, if you learn to use these tools, it's been a game changer this year.
Yeah, I love how you describe that this is allowing you to interact with the physical world. Like a lot of times we talk about accessibility, we think of it sort of digitally, and it's like, well, a website or a form or something. But you're using this to do things like, I think you were telling me, even fold up a sofa or a couch. Like, how would you do that? Or find the water supply turn off knob or lever, and translating these things into like real life things of everyday living, not just sort of online or digital.
Exactly. It's kind of this continuum. So the work on seeing AI initially was just like, you're going to have your camera that's viewing the world and help you get around the world. And on the other end, you've got this something that's looking just at your computer screen and helping you complete tasks there. And now you've got this intermediate, like you say, where you're in the physical world, it's looking things up in the digital world and saying, run your hand along this surface and look for this shaped screw, and then you're going to turn it this way. And that's really helpful.
And how would you compare that to, say, a year or two or three ago, where you didn't have that? Were you asking people for assistance? Were you looking it up like online PDFs on the web? Like how are you doing it? Or you just didn't?
Well, no, I think you're always finding the workarounds that work best. But the great thing here is, um, depends on your personal situation, but sighted help is a resource that I personally will go to when I need it, but you don't want to be using it all the time. So this just gives me more independence. There are more things that I can do, or I get a few steps further along before I have to wait around to get a sighted person to check something, for example. So yeah, that's very empowering.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love the shopping example too. I mean, we buy things all the time, every day, whether it's just, things to live on, things around the house, clothes, food, what have you, but also services, things like that. And to have AI help out, I mean, you tell me, does it change like your quality of life a lot, or is it just that you get more done in a day?
Oh, quality of life, I don't know. I just think it brings a whole new dimension to the things that you do. Like, just things that I wouldn't have even thought of doing. Like in the past, I never thought that I would be the person, say, choosing very visual decorations in the house. But we were redoing some of the flooring and it said, hey, these are the designs, and it's got the pictures from the website. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a photo of the kitchen, and then it's going to say, okay, these ones match and these ones don't. And honestly, I'm not sure I trust the AI yet, but it actually lets me get a few steps further before I go and send my wife some proposals and say, what do you think about these ones? Because it's filtered out that these things are never going to match. And that's really cool. Oh, and then just something completely else is the other day I was using the AI to create a 3D printable model. And I was like, I never could have imagined I did this. I was just sort of sitting there on my phone, typing in what I want to design, and had a half an hour discussion about the model I wanted to create. And it never occurred to me that as a blind person, I could be on my phone creating a 3D model. That's mind blowing to me.
That is mind blowing, and that's like real. It's not like someday maybe, but it's like really, really happening. That's
It's
amazing.
happening now. And again,
Have you
it's not me.
tried? Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, have you tried this thing? I just read about this the other day, that Etsy, the sort of online website for crafts and things for people to sell and buy and purchase and talk about, is now integrated into Chat GPT. And so now in a chat with GPT, you can ask it, it will present things from Etsy and actually let you buy them in the chat without leaving. That seems like game changing to me. Is that your sense of it?
Yeah, it is very cool. I have not tried the Etsy example specifically, but this is the bigger idea that so ChatGPT is sort of calling them apps where companies can now allow the AI, they call it, sometimes you call it the agentic web, this idea that the AI is not just going out onto the web and giving you information or from its model, but actually it can do things on your behalf. And that could be buy something from a shop, it could be searching for travel reservations or house prices. So I've definitely used different apps quite a bit, and it's an exciting possibility as more of these AI first apps come online. And I think for someone who's blind, that's extra exciting because it's not just about automating tasks like, oh, I can just buy this craft item here. It actually could be a whole new way of computing that could be more accessible if done right.
Okay, now you cracked up on a huge topic. So let's jump in a little deeper here. I think you called it agents or agentic, and I wanted to stop on that because if you're in the AI field or in the tech field, this is something that's now really common to talk about. It's like almost the main topic of conversation. But I think for a lot of people who don't know about this, we should sort of stop and explain because you're going to probably hear these terms and concepts as you go through SciTech Global and also afterwards. So can we just kind of double click a little bit on what is an agent and how is that different than say like an assistant that we're used to having, like an Amazon assistant or something? Like what is the difference between those two? And then we'll talk a little bit more about like what that means for people and the impact it's going to have.
Yeah, these are buzzwords in the tech industry. The industry is always good at making up these terms, but the way to think about it, assistants have been there for a while. They help you do things, often by giving you information. But the notion of an agent is something that acts on your behalf. And the example you gave is where if it knows your credit card details, it can actually just go and place the order for the thing you want to buy. It could also go and do multitask steps. So you say, not click on this item, but rather you can tell it, I want to find this information and you're going to summarize it like this and use these tools, and it will do the steps, for example, on a computer, but it doesn't have to be on the computer, and actually take the actions on your behalf. So I think that's one way of thinking of an agent, is it does things. Whereas maybe the typical assistant type things give you information.
Yeah, it's a great way to think about it. And I think of agents as kind of, especially AI agents, running around talking to each other, doing a bunch of work, and then coming back. And then, as you said, the assistant sort of saying, okay, here's what it found, or here's what it did. Let me inform you and tell a bit more about that kind of thing. Have I got that right?
And then it goes crazy. Agents can talk to other agents to get the tasks done.
Yeah. So if I, for example, say to an agent, I want to get tickets to travel somewhere, like that's a lot of steps manually now, right? You got to go through, usually you used to call an agent, an actual person. And now, of course, we do it ourselves on computers or with phones or what have you. Do you trust it to like spend your money and buy that ticket or make a change to your schedule? Like, how do you think about that, especially since it's relatively new? Are you excited about that? Are you thinking, I might wait a little while? Like people who haven't used this before, what do you think? Should they jump in? Is it time?
Definitely try these things out, but always with a pinch of salt. Like even when you're getting information from the AI, from Copilot or any of the other apps, always double check. It's incredibly useful. But same when it's taking action on your behalf. I think the two important things for me are keeping the human in the loop, because at the end of the day, all these AIs, they are just tools, and they are tools whose purpose should be to make your life better. So I think it's really important as we design these systems that they double check, they confirm the important things, and maybe they automatically present you with some options. Maybe they automatically say, I'm about to do this, is this okay? But keeping the human in the loop is really key.
Yeah.
And some of these agents in businesses are used for automation. And I think that's amazing because they can automate complex processes. But for the blind community, what's even more exciting are the agents that will work side by side with us in the same way that maybe we occasionally have a sighted person sitting next to us. So it's that partnership and working together that excites me the most.
Yeah, it just really lets you be more creative, more thoughtful, faster. And it gets to an interesting question, which is, do you think that sort of agentic AI, this agent-based model that everybody's sort of working towards, is finally really going to be sort of that equalizer in the workplace for people with vision loss and blindness? is this going to actually put us on the same level now, or will it always still be sort of a step behind trying to catch up kind of mode? What do you think?
I think it really could be, but it's going to require us to be careful and to purposefully think through this. A bit before my time, but we went through this transition in the past several times, but from text-based interfaces like DOS and terminals to graphical interfaces. And in the beginning, everything was just, a stream of words, and that was something you could very easily speak out. And you mentioned sort of shopping and so forth using a chatbot. Right now, what I love when I'm saying, okay, I need to buy a new X and it's going to compare them, and I'm having a nice conversation where I'm typing and it's either speaking or, displaying information. That's amazing. It's almost like I'm browsing the web without the browser there. But that is probably not the way that most sighted people in the world want to use these systems, because I haven't basically got a chat interface to a web browser. We're going to replace that with a highly visual, highly interactive systems. And it's really important that as those changes happen, that we are included and that those systems remain usable. We have to, and that's the one part, is the visualness of it, but also the security side. People are realizing now that you do need guardrails to be responsible. We can't just let these models scrape all information, especially say corporate information, and build models from them. So then people are putting guardrails to say, okay, you're not allowed to know about this information. But now as a blind person, if the AI is your equalizer and that assistant agent cannot access certain information because it's highly confidential or business essential, then you have just excluded people for whom that's their primary interface. So, caution, very, very excited, but a little bit of caution too.
I'm going to have to get you a t-shirt that has a caution sign on it, because I feel like every time we talk, it's like, go forward. Oh, well, caution too. But you know what? That's true. And it's right. We need to be thoughtful about these things. And some of this is unexplored territory, right? We haven't done these before. So it does make sense to be prudent, but we shouldn't be afraid. We should go try these things out, experiment, be, forward thinking, and take the opportunity to improve our lives through these different technologies and techniques and things. I think,
yeah, go ahead. The creator, you have to make sure that you identify these problems so you can solve for them. But I'm very excited that, we're going to hopefully, find those solutions we're going to go through, because there's still so many things ahead to be solved. And again, as a creator, as an innovator, that's something that I'm always looking at and exciting me, because if we consider parity as, going back 10 years, I used to say a friend on my shoulder, looking around, whispering in my ear. I think in many ways that's still the vision. And there's still so many things. It doesn't matter how much advanced this AI is. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of things in my life which I'm like, yeah, this should be way simpler. But I also think, say, using a computer is one example. I should be able to interact with the computer in whatever way I want, with whatever form of input suits me, given my situation and my ability, and it should be able to communicate back to me in whatever way I want. And agents feel like this path in that direction. If an agent can do all these things on your behalf, we're not talking automation, we're talking empowerment, because suddenly, it's up to me and the agent to converse however we want, and the agent knows what I need, and it can generate new user interfaces rather than the one size fits all that maybe we have today. So it's a very exciting idea that what if you could have a highly personalized interface to all of this AI that is perfectly suited for you, whether that's, visual ability or something audio or language or the writing style, just personalized to you. And now everyone has a personal agent which can go and operate on their behalf. And this is a big vision. It would take the whole industry to align on some of these things, but I get very excited that, yeah, this could really level the playing field. And if we do this right, it could change everything.
Yeah, it unlocks a lot of things that are currently blocked by technology. Now we have a new technology, new platform, and suddenly a lot more possibilities are possible, or a lot more capabilities are possible. And as you said, I think one of the things that is interesting is sort of the coordination, the regulation. I happened across a really wild term called ACP. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's Agentic Commerce Protocol. That's a wild term, but what it told me, and there's a whole document people can look up if they want to offline, but it tells me that there's serious thinking about how these will interact with each other, and that it is an open standard. And so this is not sort of like pie in the sky, somebody came up with an interesting thing. This is literally an industry-wide effort to coordinate and allow these agents to interoperate. And of course, in terms of commerce and shopping, the most important one, because finances, money's changing hands. These things have to be secure and private and trustworthy and fast and efficient to sort of power this next generation of how we do things online. So I thought that was actually quite, I don't know if you've run into that term or that protocol yet, but I thought that was quite interesting to come across.
Yeah, and what's always been true about this blind community is the people who are maybe the early adopters in the blind community are very much at the frontier of what technology can do. And this has been true for, 50 years, probably way more. But because people with disabilities have so much more to gain from these new technologies, we're often dabbling with this stuff really early on. So the things that we're doing now, like trying to, type in what you want and compare products and shopping, that's something I think everyone is trying to figure out and everyone will be doing eventually. So we're just dabbling with these things now, but they're just going to become standardized and mainstream, and there'll be whole ecosystems of apps and companies making new solutions over time.
Yeah, well, it's a great segue to my next question. So I'm glad you raised that point, because I think the other kind of big thing that's happened since the last year we talked about them starting to happen, but I think now they're this is getting to be truly mainstream, is wearables, and particularly these glasses with AI integrated in, glasses with microphones and speakers, things that allow you to have hands free, allow you to be mobile and independent and go outside and explore the world with confidence, right?
Yeah.
And I know since we talked last, I think Meta's come out with a new set that has a display built in. Oakley has some now that are for sports. You can, like, if you're running, or you can ask it, like, how's my pace during my mile distance or things like that. And I know Microsoft had an announcement recently regarding this, so I thought maybe this would be a good chance for you to sort of tell us what's going on there, because that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah, that's so cool. Going back, I think 2014 was the first time we had a pair of glasses hooked up to an AI, and all that became seeing AI, but we never managed to find the way to do like the commercially mass market viable pair of glasses with a camera on that sees for you. And it's really cool to see products like those from Meta, which actually have the camera built into the glasses. And we recently announced that Microsoft, through Seeing AI, is going to connect with those Ray-Ban Meta glasses and enable you to use Seeing AI and all those tools hands-free. So, while you're holding your cane and maybe trying to open a door or carry some shopping, we never have enough hands. So not needing to hold your phone with the camera is, I think, going to unlock some new possibilities, because suddenly if the camera is always there and it's pointing wherever you're looking, then suddenly it goes from, okay, tell me what you see right now, to, okay, like we said about agents, me and this AI in my pocket and the glasses we're going to partner on completing some tasks together. And that's a lot of the focus for the Seeing AI team right now is, okay, you have this hands-free solution that's always there. Let's unlock new possibilities for what you can do in the world.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love about this that kind of, for me, makes it really real is, in the past there have been prototypes, there have been some commercial products, but they're multi-thousands of dollars, and now the prices on these are literally less than $300, which is roughly the cost of a pair of glasses anyway. I don't know, my glasses tend to cost me more than that when I go, even with insurance coverage in the US. So that price seems like it's making it more accessible in terms of, price and cost, but also they're available now at so many different outlets. Like they're easier to find. Before, you kind of had to know about these, someone needed to tell you, and you kind of need to be on the inside. But this is just regular old stuff now, and kind of speaks to the idea that traditional products are just becoming more inclusive by design in a way that really hasn't existed in the past. And I've heard from people in the blind community that say, there's never been a better time to be blind because of all the technology available. And I would love to actually get your thoughts on that. Is that just the perception people have at the moment, or is that actually true that there's just more available now than there's ever been before?
Oh, well, you're asking a tech enthusiast here. I've dedicated my career to this, so a bit of bias there. But
I hope you're biased, but I want to hear your answer because I think people would be interested, right?
but I think at any moment in time, I would have said yes. The answer is yes, but it's always been yes. So, when I was in university, there were books I could read on the computer, but they were far and few between, and audiobooks were, there but not massively available. And then, over time, the day that, services came online that I could read thousands or hundreds of thousands and millions of books on the internet, that unlocked more and all the way through. But yes, today, the technology is incredibly exciting with all the examples we've discussed, from processing information to understanding the visual world around you to doing your schoolwork or your work at work. There is just so much that is possible now that you couldn't have done even a year or two ago. So I'm very optimistic, and year on year, there's going to be more and more things. So excited to see where this all goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you as we kind of get to the close here, we've touched on so many things. How do you think we ensure that people with vision loss are always part of the development, not sort of just as a consumer, like, okay, thank you for making this for me, I'm so grateful, but really to be decision makers, policy makers, product designers? What are some of the things, you've been in this industry a long time in the tech field, you've worked with a lot of people in these roles. And so for people maybe in the audience who are in these roles, maybe they're focused on accessibility, maybe they're not, and this is their first, contact with this topic. What are some of the ways they can be part of this process? Make sure that it's not done for people who are blind, but with and by people who are blind.
Yeah, I often think of my work in seeing AI as a conversation between the blind community and the scientists. How do we bridge the gap of what people need and what the technology is capable of, and have the luxury of doing that because my team creates products for the blind. But everyone can do this in their own way. Like if you are in a role where you define policy or are creating the technology, then make sure that people with disabilities are included as early in the process as feasible. But everyone can play their part in some way. It could be that you're helping test some software. So can you get your perspectives represented much earlier on in the development process? It could be that you're an advocate and you're going to talk about the specific needs of this community. It could be that you're reporting bugs because you find these models are not representative of people with disabilities or so forth. So make sure that you speak up and people know that. You might be teaching others. So you may be a tech enthusiast, but then there'll be others who are nervous about technology. So you might be the teacher. So I would just say, whatever your thing is, this is life-changing technology. And yes, we need to make sure that the companies making these technologies are aware of our needs, that the products meet our needs, and that it scales so that everyone out there benefits and learns about it as well.
Fantastic. Well, Saqib, thank you. Unfortunately, our time is up, as it always is too soon. I can't wait till next year to hear what's happening, again, in another year. It's going to be incredible. But thank you, as always, for joining and giving your thoughts on what's happening on the inside of the industry, but also as part of the blindness community. your perspective on these changes and what we should be thinking about and getting ready for. No doubt a lot of these topics that you've touched on will be discussed throughout SiteTech Global this year. So we're excited to hear more from a lot of presenters about some more details of these things that we just sort of touched on. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great SiteTech Global, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And if I can give a brief plug,
Yes.
seeingai.com, and you can always get in touch, seeingai or Saqib at Microsoft.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Saqib.